Okay. Welcome everybody to this forum. We hope to get some real conversation going. We want obviously a lot of input from all of you. This is about active transportation, roadway safety. It's about safety for all users of the road. I don't think we've done too great a job of in town over the last God knows how many years to try to make it safe for all users. So, and it's getting worse. As everybody knows, there's more. I don't want to pin it on the e-bikers and the e-scooter people, but they're taking advantage of their freedom of mobility any way they can. And unless we say, no, you can't ride an e-bike or an e-scooter in Greenwich, I think we have to do something about that to make it safer for people. So let's hear what the public has to say about that. We have a panel of experts here tonight to talk about that. And that's all part of what we call active transportation. It's a word, if there's people maybe on Zoom, I think most of you people that came here know what active transportation is, but it's everything from walking to biking to scootering to rollerblades and hoverboards and wheelchairs and you name it. It is human powered primarily transportation, not a big four-wheel vehicle on the road. So so how do we make it safe for all of those people? We have our panelists here tonight, whom we're going to ask all to self-introduce very briefly, and then our main person here tonight who's going to give us an idea of how other towns have tackled this issue. Even in Connecticut, Bruce Donald, we'll get to him in a couple of minutes. We're going to ask Bob, you probably want to say just a couple of things, and then we're going to ask our first selectman who set up the initially the bicycle task force. After we realized it wasn't all about bicycles, it's all about all of those human-powered things. We changed it to the Active Transportation Task Force several months ago. It is our mission to hear from the public, to include not just our own research in making recommendations to the town, but also the input from the public, which is probably the most important thing, because that's what our departments will hear eventually, that the public wants a particular thing. So Bob, if you want to introduce Fred, say a few things.
So I'm Bob DeAngelo, Active Task Force, born and raised in Greenwich. People my age, we rode bikes all over town when we were kids. There were no helmets back then, so we didn't wear a helmet, but we rode to the beaches, the parks, the school, people's houses, and the roads were X. Fast forward to today, the roads are still the same they are. One of the things that's really different is more cars, bigger cars, faster cars, and a real dangerous cat out there is a cell phone, distracted driving. So that really puts the onus on everybody to own a little bit more of their safety. I absolutely love to ride a bike. I rode across the United States to support the Boys and Girls Club many years ago. And I truly, truly love to work with young kids to teaming up with Nick and John and others to go into the schools to run safety clinics here. We're going to basically keep doing that. There's a handout that you all gave there. On the bottom are some websites to the League of American Cyclists. I became a certified instructor, which was really good training. There's a lot of great information that anybody can glean from the League of American Cyclists about a lot of things, Rails to Trails organization. And then Bruce Donald, you're going to meet. He's the southern manager of the East Coast Greenway here. He's been building trails for 30 years. He's been helping towns that he'll talk about go through the same evolution that we're going through here. So I thank you all for showing up. I thank all the people on Zoom here. Special thanks to my childhood friend growing up, Jenny Larkin over there. Jenny and I went to school together for helping us out here. Okay, so the format on this is every panelist here is going to give just a very, very brief introduction, really, really brief, about a minute. We'll go down the line. Fred's going to say some words to welcome us here. And then Bruce Donald here. Bruce is sitting right here. Bruce is a good friend of active transportation. He came all the way down from Hartford. Really appreciate that. He's very, very knowledgeable about a lot of aspects of the things that we're interested in. Okay. So right after that, then we're going to open this up to questions basically and feedback. that you can direct towards the panelists. We'll have an active discussion here. Okay, so that's the way we're going to do it. I'm going to sit right there. I try to be a nice guy, but it's just 2 minutes. If you go to the microphone or even on a Zoom call here, I'm going to time you. You have to either ask your question or deliver the message that you want to give in 2 minutes. I'll give you a 15-second warning, and then I'll get in front of you to try to wind you down on that. Just a heads up on that. Okay. So with that, Fred, be really happy if you gave a few welcome words here.
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and thank you to Bob and thank you to Vin. About 4 years ago, upon taking office, we sat down, and I know Lauren Rabin is participating via Zoom, with Bob and Vin and a few others, and decided to put together a bike task force. Why do we do that? Which later became an active transportation task force. Well, as somebody who believes in physical fitness, I work out every day, I hike. I also know that biking is a little bit tougher, and I grew up here with Bob, and biking was a lot easier back then. Bob mentioned that, you know, we didn't have cell phones then, not as many cars. We also didn't have electric cars that are silent. So lots of these things could lead to a recipe for, God forbid, a disaster. So we wanted to see how we can get the ball down the field. How can we get people out there and being more active with a bike, but doing so safely? And we have several ideas. I won't go into them because I know we're going to touch upon them later, but I do want to thank them very much for what they've done so far. We've actually gotten a lot of things done, small steps, but we're getting them done now finally. But know that when you're sharing the road with cars, right, it's a little bit different from guys like me hiking off the road. So we have some ideas about that hopefully you hear tonight, and certainly anything that you have to say will certainly be incorporated into what we do. So again, thank you all for coming tonight.
Good, great. Okay, so let's just go down. We'll start, Joe. We'll start with you. We'll move on down. Just a really brief introduction, maybe some key things you might be working on, and we'll just go on right on through. Thanks.
Good evening, Joe Siciliano. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. And as Bob mentioned, we are working on a couple of key things that would pertain to the subject. First of all, I wanted to let people know that there's going to be a Pomerantz-Tuckman public meeting, and we met with Bob a couple of weeks ago to look at possibly a connecting tail from Bible Street over to Orchard. So that'll be on the 30th of October in this room, 6 p.m. And we'll have our consultant here to gather information about people's wishes on Pomerantz-Tuckman. But if you're interested in participating, come. And if you're interested in participating in the subject, come, and we'll get it on the record. So that's just an announcement. The other thing we've been working on is in fiscal year 23, we asked for some money to do a study of ADA accessibility of all the major parks. That would include Binney, Bruce, Byron Park, Coscott Park, Greenwich Point, Montgomery, Pine Needham. And we did receive that money appropriated from the BET and the RTM, so thank you. We are currently working with a couple of contractors that the town has used to do this work. One of the inclusions in that RFP and the contract that we'll have is looking at a multi-use path that goes through Booth Park. So it'll go from what we call Kiddie Land, or the playground over by the museum. It'll go all the way through the park and end up on Field Point Road. So that will be included in their list of tasks to complete. We are in the process right now of just signing the contract, so that work should commence shortly. And we would like to have some feedback within the first 3 to 6 months. So we'll keep you updated on that. But that's a real that's been a vital part. Both Bob and Vin DiMarco came to see me about a year ago and started to have this conversation about Goose Park. And we said, well, why don't we take the advantage of having this study that we're doing for ADA accessibility in our parks and include this in that. It seems very apropos that we do that, because this could be a multi-purpose pass for everyone. So it's in there, and it's a go, and we'll get it done shortly, the next 3 to 6 months. So we'll have some preliminary draft information in that time period. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Michel, Deputy Commissioner of Public Works. Public Works is responsible for the 265 miles of road, the 90 miles of sidewalk, and most everything else that's out there related to that. We have many things dealing with installing new sidewalks throughout town, improving ADA accessibility through fixing ramps, et cetera. We've been, one of our newer projects has been the safety improvements near New Lebanon School. We did a roadway project there where we installed some RRFBs. And what are RFBs? They're basically the crosswalk signs that flash and when you push the button. So that's what we're one of the initiatives that we've been working on. We've been installing those in a few places across town. We recently, back in May, were notified that we were awarded a grant for a trail, that was started by this group. We worked with Stanford on that, and we're going to be looking to put put a pathway, a multi-use trail between a park in Stanford and Binney Park. So we're just in the process of going through that project, and I'm just going to put a plug in for myself that we're going for interim appropriation for that grant on the October RTM call. So if you can get out there and vote in favor of that, that would be helpful to us. So.
Yeah, just say who you are, but we're going to talk later on.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Oh, is this on? There we go. Bruce Donald. I'm the Southern New England manager of the East Coast Greenway Alliance. I have been, as you said, building trails for fun and profit for the last 28 years, and most recently, I have been on the board of directors of Bike Walk Connecticut. I am one of the founders of the Connecticut Outdoor Recreation Association. And notably for this town and many others, I am the chairman, the appointed chairman by the governor of the Connecticut Greenways Council, which vets the recreational trails grants program for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So I was pleased to vote for the Greenwich money, and in fact help you folks, kind of formulate that project. So and I'll stop there.
Vin DiMarco, acting chair of the Active Transportation Task Force. I've been involved in this kind of stuff for 30 or more years, going back to the Greenwich Safe Cycling Group, way back the advocacy group, which produced the Bicycle Master Plan, and we haven't done a whole lot since then, but working on this stuff incrementally over time. So I'm really thankful that Fred kind of allowed us to bring something back on that. And so we're now expanding to active transportation, and actually we're way behind. We're way behind other communities on this. So we've got a lot of catching up to do. I too was a cyclist when I was a kid everywhere. And it's, living here, you don't notice it. It just keeps going, getting worse and worse. You don't notice it. But if you move here or move away and come back, like I just had my 50th high school reunion the other night, and people come back and say, oh my God, so anyway, it's a moving target. And I think everybody recognizes now just how bad, the safety issue is, and that we have to address it. So here we are. Let's get the conversation going.
There we go. Hey, my name is John Baxendale, born and raised in Greenwich. Not quite your age, but I ride around a lot too. I ride for recreation, mental health and everything else. I own Back Cycles, which is the former Dave Cycles location, which has been around for 50-ish years. Got many of my bikes, my kids' bikes there and everything else. I'm lucky enough to know Bob and Vin and have worked with them through some of the education programs at the school and the clinics. That's always a lot of fun. And yeah, we always try and keep things safe and people on the road having fun, but that's a challenging thing to do sometimes. So yeah, when they asked me to come and be a part of this, I'm happy to do it. So I'll continue working with them and
see what we can do to improve things.
Good evening, JD Smith with the Greenwich Police Department. I'm the traffic section supervisor. So we investigate all the serious physical injury accidents or fatal accidents, collisions that happen in town. We also do traffic analysis when we get traffic complaints that get selected forward to the first selectman pretty often. So they end up on my desk. We'll go out to a traffic analysis and determine if that area needs more attention or not. Also head up the enforcement unit. And as we get those complaints, we send officers out and do some enforcement. Also, we use this moment to highlight that October 15th, Bob mentioned distracted driving is a problem. Kicks off our distracted driving campaign. We'll have extra officers out on the roadway, cracking down on distracted driving. One of the things that people do not know is texting actually at a stoplight or stop sign. That's also illegal in Connecticut, and you could get an infraction for that as well. So basically, that's it for me. I'm also born and raised in Greenwich. I gotta put that in there.
Hi, I'm Officer Carl from the Greenwich Police Department. I've been on for 16 years. The last 4 years, I've done the bike unit, which came out during the pandemic. And when they took the officers off the avenue, we're now have a bike unit made up of 4 guys. We always have, 3 guys out there at all times. So we have a lot of coverage. We do everything that a police officer that you see in a cruiser does. I'm sure I recognize a lot of the faces out here. It's a really, it's a cool unit to be a part of because people like to come up to me on the avenue to talk to me. I get to know them. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys have about what's going on out there. I mean, I have a lot of my own thoughts and everything. That's my observations, but love to hear from you guys too.
So Margarita.
Hi, I have my safety vest on. Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be with you. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all have to say. My name is Margarita Alban, A-L-B-A-N. I'm the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I look forward to being of support in any way we can. Thank you.
She's done.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Bruce, you're up next here, about 10 minutes on, lessons learned, complete streets, economic vitality, everything in between.
All right.
Thanks for coming down. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. You probably could figure out I could talk about this stuff for 2-3 hours. So I literally just wrote like 5 or 6 things down because if I do that, I might stick to that. So we'll see how this works. First of all, I think that to categorize Stamford as behind the 8 ball, I kind of would disagree with that. I think that there's a lot of municipalities around Connecticut that haven't spent the money yet to build multi-use trails. That doesn't mean that they haven't been thinking about this stuff for a long time. So to categorize that you're 10 years behind the times is not really fundamentally correct, because I grew up in Farmington, and in fact I live there now. And Farmington is one of those unique towns in Connecticut that had abandoned rail lines crisscrossed the town. And so, boom, really easy, because they had in the public domain linear right-of-ways that you could build something on. And so they did. And that started in literally 1991 with the original federal act. They called it the Ice-T Act. Every transportation act has some bizarre moniker. That's what that one was called. But that was the start of essentially rails with trails. So it was 80% federal money, 20% local money. And that brings up another issue, which is the communities with a larger tax base were able to be early adopters of these types of trails because they could come up with that 20% local match easily. More lately, in the last 7-8 years, Connecticut DOT has been giving out 10 to 20% of those projects to get them done. So it's less of it's less of a problem for a small town, for instance, with a smaller tax base to be able to do these projects. So what is a multi-use trail? There are definitions of them, but think bikers and walkers, roller skaters, you name it. Basically, anybody who's not using an internal combustion engine and is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act for a mobility device. So, for instance, an electric wheelchair would be approved. Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes would be approved. They generally, in this part of the state, are paved. The AASHTO and NACTO requirements are 10 feet wide. Although currently we're building a lot of 12 and 14-foot trail because they're so popular. And again, that goes back to things like trail counts, demographics, how dense the population is. And it is quite dense here. So, there would be a thought process where maybe you would build 12-foot trail. And again, this down the road, it's part of the design process. But the teething problem in a community that has a new multi-use trail is working and playing well together. So cyclists and pedestrians can sometimes cause each other headaches. There is a period of education involved where folks have to learn if you're walking to stay on the right side of the trail. If you're a bicyclist, you need to announce that you're passing in a loud voice. And so the rules of the road are out there, and it's not rocket science. This is something that many communities across the state have done very successfully. And so I was involved really since almost the start of the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which around 2027 will be completed in the state from New Haven to Suffield, 56 miles, and then further up to Amherst, so for 84 miles total, actually to Northampton, I should say. And so I have a lot of experience with municipalities, starting to do this, and to say you're behind the 8 ball. So the last community on the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail is Plainville. They just went through a series of meetings starting about 5 years ago, public meetings, to approve the route of the Canal Heritage Trail through their town. It has been approved. It has been funded by the state, mostly federal funds, although you may have noticed that there was a federal raise grant that Plainville and New Britain got, and I can talk to New Britain in some more detail as well, of almost $15 million. So a congressional line item, basically. And so there's money out there, which is another point I wanted to make to everybody here. It's an interesting situation because really since the late 80s, when people were looking to build these types of trails, this is the first time when there's been a lot of money in the system. And a lot of that has to do with the enormous amount of money that Congress allocated for transportation enhancement across the country. But I am very familiar because I lobby for it in Hartford with the Connecticut Recreational Trails Program, which is on the Bonding Commission agenda as we speak for the 6th. And it always passes when it's on the agenda, and that's $10 million a year. So that's that money that you folks got last year. So there's 10 million in this year's pot, which is fantastic because what that does is that pays for all the stuff that DOT doesn't pay for, which mostly is feasibility studies, design studies, amenities, literally bathrooms, things that federal construction money doesn't pay for. That grant process pays for in the state. And so that's kind of some of the background, and I can talk to all of the nuts and bolts of this if you really want to, but you probably don't. What I would say is that towns in this state, there's 169 fiefdoms, as I'm fond of saying, which is actually pretty accurate. I think complete streets as a town initiative, and I would talk about complete streets, not so much complete streets itself. That's a whole other thing, which we can do if you want. But generally speaking, most towns in the state have accepted it. There's the town council has said, or the mayor has said, yes, we will do this when we look at projects, which is fantastic. There are other towns and a couple of cities, New Haven I can think of as one, that actually has made it law. So, and that's another step up, right? That's where you've got to really think about it. And those documents are, 20 pages long. I mean, they're very long. It becomes a municipal law essentially, that when you're looking at a transportation corridor, you would apply complete streets to that corridor. And that would include basically all types of mobility. So cars and trucks, walkers and bikers, and everybody else that would be included in the program to make sure that whatever the project is safe for all of those users. So that essentially, and again, we can get into the weeds on that, but that's essentially what we're talking about. There are other programs out there. The feds, in this recent round of enormous amount of spending, have refunded Safe Routes to School. So the Safe Routes to School program is out there again, and it's something that the town I really think should look at. And then I want to close with the issue of economic development, which is very interesting and has really only cropped up in the last 10 years or so. There was this thought that if you build these things, that they were actually linear parks, which is, and that's lovely, right? That's beautiful amenities, a couple of benches, people will get out and get some exercise. What's actually happened is as we build more of these and they connect, and they start to connect cities and regions, and I haven't even talked about the East Coast Greenway. That's who pays my bills. That's a 3,000-mile trail that's 1,118 miles are complete as we speak, from Key West to Calais, Maine. And I bring that up because those corridors have become, in planner speak, active transportation corridors, and they bring tourists in. They bring one-day folks, they bring in 3-day folks. They get a hotel, they fix their bike, they get a couple of meals, they talk to their friends and say, oh my God, this town has the most beautiful trail you've ever seen. You got to come down and see this. And it starts to snowball. And so what we're seeing in many places, certainly up where I am, is an enormous amount. I was just on the trail in Avon, Connecticut, just above where I live. And I met a whole family, a couple of kind of 30-something folks, their 2 kids from Belgium. They came from Belgium to ride our trail. How cool is that? So it's happening. And I think that, wouldn't this town love to be a part of that? So that's certainly there. The other component to this is, we've been speaking to other towns in Fairfield County. There's the possibility for a Route 1 corridor study. I've been talking to Jim Himes about that, about a congressional earmark. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, are you going to see him?
I'll be here Saturday.
All right, I'll have to, we'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk. But there's a lot of great stuff going on. And so I will leave you with another economic, tidbit, which is that for transportation projects, active transportation projects beat anything else out there for transportation projects for return on investment. because they don't cost a lot of money, generally speaking, up to kind of 10 to $15 million, which it seems like a lot, but in the world of transportation is nothing. Their return on investment is anywhere between 2 and 8 years because of the economic development quotient that's involved. And that includes real estate prices close to trails are higher. Tax base next to trails is higher. And it goes on from there. So it actually does work. There's a number of intellectually correct, academically rigorous studies out there that indicate that in fact does work. So I'll stop there. I just wanted to kind of, seed the room, I suppose.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jim. Thanks, Bruce. Just real quick, before we go to question and answer here, I asked Jim Michael for a map of Greenwich. This is a map of Greenwich. He talked about all the roads that he's responsible for. So the real challenge for us as we get started with this is not every road is a great road to cycle on and never will be. North Street School, it's a dangerous school to bike ride. There's only one road, North Street. It's not a good road right now. But the challenge is to try to work what we have. Basically, the roads haven't changed. So you may have seen sharrows painted on roads in Greenwich, Connecticut. A sharrow is an awareness thing for both a bike rider, a scooter person, somebody, and a motorist on the other side that says, hey, be aware you're gonna have to share this road. That's what a sharrow is. It's not a protected lane. Your safety is it's not great. It's still what it is, basically. It's on that end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is what Bruce talked about, that's an off-road multi-purpose trail. And then there's a whole group of things in between. And that's what Jim Michael and his team, these guys are busy on looking on that. Are there roads that we can make the car road width a little less, do some traffic calming? And on the flip side of that, take the white painted shoulder line and move that out a little bit. That's not a protected bike lane or active lane, but it gives a little bit more semblance of safety to a bike rider and cues a motorist that, hey, this is my roadway, but I'm sharing this on the other side of the white line with a bicyclist. We have protected lanes. So he's got a lot on his plate, but one of the things that we want to work towards is a real analysis of what roads in Greenwich, preferably near schools, because we want everybody to ride to school, basically. That's a great thing. Can we work some magic on, basically? So that's what we're doing. So we're going to open this up to questions now. Gabby Ratner of Barber's House, CCI, she has another engagement. So I told her that she could come up first with her question or her statement because she has to run. So Gabby, thank you.
Hope I don't mess this up, but I'm going to turn it around so I can face both sides. Good evening. I'm Gabby Ratner, the Executive Director of Barber's House. Barber's House, formerly CCI, is a nearly 70-year-old social service agency serving low-income, high-needs residents of Greenwich, from children to senior citizens. There are myriad reasons to support what's being discussed here today. I'm here tonight specifically on behalf of the youngsters. Young people, especially as they approach middle and early high school, yearn for more independence. In a suburban environment like ours, transportation is largely limited, to school buses and mom or dad. For children whose parents are often working multiple jobs late into the evening, being dropped off by the school bus means staying in for the rest of the day, where most will default to screen time and all kinds of potential trouble. The bicycle offers an alternative. Bike clinics, access to bikes and helmets are all wonderfully available to our clients thanks to programs such as Bob's and the Greenwich Police Department. This summer, we were able to see firsthand the joy in a kid's eyes when they learn to ride for the first time. What's missing is a safe network of bike lanes and paths that would enable our kids, most of whom live in central and western Greenwich, to ride to school, to visit friends after school, even run errands for their families. It's my hope that this task force will help make that a possibility and will level the playing field for low-income children for whom it's currently challenging to come home, pick up their bikes, and head out, as their counterparts in eastern Greenwich are able to take for granted. Thank you. Thank you for letting me go first. And thank you for taking up this potentially wonderful addition to our community.
So Officer Reeves, I saw him and we talked about that you have maybe a bunch of bicycles that are doing nothing at the police department. We talked about seeing how we could, along with clinics, some training, give some bikes to kids that would really like to ride and give them a sense of ownership and independence. So we can talk more about that. So this is an open mic now. If you'd like to come up and ask a question or say something, 2 minutes, just please come on up, say your name, and let's get going on it. Okay, good. Janet.
Follow Gabby's example. I'm Janet Stone McWigan. I serve on your board of selectmen. I am the co-chair of the Sustainability Committee. In my free time, I am an enthusiastic, if not very coordinated, biker. I'm all about bike safety. I don't have a formal role on the Active Transportation Task Force, but I am a big supporter. I don't think I have missed a single meeting. But back to the Sustainability Committee. We are, and I'm thrilled to see many members in the audience tonight. We are big supporters of your work. So thank you, Bob and Vin. Entirely on its own, the Sustainability Committee has been working to try to think about the strategy for what we do this year. And it came up very organically. We want to support the work of the task force. So I will turn my statement into a question and say, when are you and Vin available to meet with us? We are ready with open arms.
We'll put that together. Thank you. Thanks, Janet. Thank you.
Let the stakes are closed first, and I'll just go after.
We have time. Yeah,
No one online yet.
Oops, here, how are you? Well, I service my bike at bike, so. And well, I've been a bike rider for many years. And so I'm a client of Dave's and bikes and big supporter of this. Thank you, Bruce. We saw you over the summer when we were there for the feasibility study to just see if we can finish that trail between Stanford and us. And thank you both for what you did this summer for us at the Barbara House. That was great. Thank you very much, and for what you are doing in town.
Good evening. I'm Ashley Cole. I am on the Sustainability Committee with Janet, and I represent the community culture sector. I'm also a founding member of the Hillside Road Traffic and Safety Committee. I've been working on that for maybe almost 10 years now, I think, a long time. I'm also on the Greenwich High School Security Entrance Building Committee. So children and safety and our community are very important to me, to all of us, really. And I've been working on this for years. We really need this. We really need biking and walking safety, especially around our schools. It is imperative. Something is going to happen, I'm afraid, to one of our kids or one of our residents. And we have plans. We've made a Hillside Road safety plan, yet nothing has been done. Nothing. So I guess I'm a little cynical. How can we get this going? Because it's been out there. The issues are there. I don't know what we need to do, but I want to help make this happen. Because you guys know, the police, you know what goes on over there. You know we need these changes. A bike and walking safety lane would be incredible asset to our community and will bring people here. So That's pretty much what I have to say. Let's get it done. The Sustainability Committee is here to help.
I'm John Chu. I live downtown. I'm a professional walker. I walk around town. And I have a question for the police. Is there any statistical analysis as to the location of where the most accidents occur in town? And then the second question I have is, I've been almost hit twice in the crosswalks near the bottom part of the avenue. And I was wondering, have you thought about having traffic enforcement agents, not policemen per se, but people that are trained to direct traffic like they have in New York City? I'll leave this with you. But those are my two questions. Thank you.
Sure. So firstly, the question about the traffic agent thing is state law requires that anybody directing traffic in the street be a certified police officer, and if not, a certified flagman. But town ordinances also require that a police officer be directing traffic in town. So that's where the tape is regarding, a traffic agent kind of thing. So there would be, and they also become a part-time employee or full-time, depending, it's also a budgetary issue that have to be taken up with the town as well. Regarding the, statistical information, biggest roads in town, I just went through today, US Route 1, East Putnam, West Putnam, the Post Road, the Central Business District roads, Millbank, Mason, Railroad, Arch Street, Field Point Road. Those are all roads where we have the most accidents, or I don't like using the word accident because they're not accidents. They're generally a contributing factor. And they're really focused around the business district area is because there's such a high volume of traffic. And that also covers injury accidents and non-injury accidents. So it may not even be a catastrophic accident. It might be something where, somebody's distracted driving, stuck to the light, there's a minor fender bender thing. And that's just the reported ones. I'm sure there's significantly more that are not even reported to us on a day-to-day basis where there's, minor contact and there's no damage and people go on their way and continue about their day. I'm gonna let Officer Carl cover the part about pedestrians on the avenue for you.
So as far as the location, you said at the bottom of the avenue, are you talking more towards like Fawcett, or you mean, yeah, down by Grigg Street there? With that, some people have suggested maybe, I don't know exactly how it gets passed, but moving that crosswalk up to the other corner. So if you come down Fawcett, it would be on like the northern side, because most people tend to like to cross there. That happens a lot instead of crossing down by Melly Mellow over there. A big thing, we're trying to educate everybody. When we go to the schools and we talk to the kids, this is a really big thing. We try to talk to them, and this is what I see a lot of on the avenue is a lot of people have earbuds in, a lot of people are looking at the phone, and a lot of people think just because the pedestrian has the right of way, they tend to just walk into the street. So they'll see a car making a turn and they just start to walk. So what we really try to enforce with the kids, and I mean, it's harder as adults, is to tell people, stop at the corner, make eye contact with all the drivers, and then we proceed through the intersection. So when we stand at the intersections, I'm sure everybody sees us out there every day. If we see something just blatantly go through, and I saw with the gentleman in the blue shirt that one day with the car that just took off through the intersection, it was ridiculous. We went after him and stopped him. Now, a lot of the stuff there is a guessing game with everybody because there's a lot of traffic downtown, but we really want the pedestrians to get the earbuds out, to get off the phone, and to stop at the corner, make eye contact, and then proceed through. I don't know if that helps you at all.
Yes, but actually, in my case, I saw the car 40 yards away, and I was walking across the walkway, and I dropped something. I bent down to pick it up. The car just kept coming, and it was a woman on her phone. She never saw me. I mean, she would have taken me right out. It was going about 45.
Yeah, I mean, that's everybody. If you're driving down the street right now, or if you're on Greenwich Avenue, probably 80% of the people are on their phone. We try to enforce as much as we can. It's just, You know, it's really the pedestrians, we try to really educate the pedestrians walking to be defensive. And we can increase enforcement down there.
So on the education stuff, we'll keep working magic in the schools. One thing that I wanted to share with you, we've been working on Dr. Tony Jones, Board of Education, to try to maybe perhaps take a look at formalizing, perhaps in the 4th grade, bicycle pedestrian safety thing to basically so that every 4th grader gets a module. And again, I'll get to you in a second. Just on the parent side too, it's really about building a really safe culture. So the parents are part of this too. The League of American Cyclists, for one, they package really, really good videos for adults. You know, laws, you're supposed to give a cyclist 3 feet minimum. So perhaps maybe with the PTAs can blast out to the parent base, everybody in school here, a little bit of educational side with the parents also. Yeah, okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimena Fernandez. I'm also part of the Sustainability Committee, but I'm going to talk as a resident of Greenwich. I live here for the last 6 years. So I just want to mention something that shocked me when I came here was the lack of safety. I used to live in Switzerland, a place where 70% of the people more or less have a bike, and there are no accidents at all. This type of conversation doesn't exist in Switzerland. Why? They have infrastructure. You go to even a little town in the middle of the mountains, they have a sidewalk, of course, but also they have bicycle lanes. How they do it, I don't know, but they manage to do it. So they have infrastructure everywhere. There is here no infrastructure, you know, to go to what was mentioned before, to schools. That's absolutely key. The second thing is education. I absolutely agree with Tony Jones, but not, I would say, when they are younger. My kids learn when they were 4 or 5 years old. The policeman of the town in Geneva went to the office and explained them how to cross the street. This is stuck in their head. They stop. They're going to tell you, you have to listen, you have to look. So they really know. And there are no kids, no accidents. You can Google it in Switzerland because the kids, they learn it since they are very, very young. Having said that, when I moved here to Switzerland, to Greenwich, I saw in Putnam Avenue, the bus school stopping in the middle of Putnam Avenue, in the middle, and the kid crossing. So all the cars in the middle of Putnam had to stop. And for me, that was crazy because the kids need to follow the same directions as everyone. They need to go to the traffic lights and cross like everyone. Why? I need to figure it out. Someone, because he's a student, because he has a book, I need to stop in the middle of Putnam. That's not okay. I think it should start with education, but the things that are happening right now is not the way to educate our kids. Everyone needs to follow the same rules as everyone. And having said that, something that I've seen in a small thing, in Byram Road, there are all the kids crossing from Western Middle School. It's a street, there are plenty of cars. There are not a crossing, any place to cross. I don't know how there has not been an accident there. So for me, it's crazy. This is crazy. You can go there when the kids finish school. You see all the kids, 10, 20 crossing, like, you know, jumping in front of the car. It's crazy. There is no one. It's crazy. No one has checked where the kids finish school and where you need to put places safest for crossing. So finishing infrastructure, you need to have infrastructure, schools, and also the train stations. People need to go to school, people need to go to the train station safely. That for me would be the safest, easiest way to start. And then education. I will start with Tony Jones and not in 4th grade, but when they are younger. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to also say to Jimena that what you just said is how we actually address those problems. So just a few weeks ago, we heard from people in Glenville, not too far from where you're talking about, and they were concerned about crossing Weaver Street. Yeah. And so we looked at it. We went down there early in the morning and during school hours when the traffic was at its most intense. And so we're going to look at it now and we looked at a way to connect everything to keep the kids, and anybody really, but the kids, especially during this time, off of having to cross Weaver Street. What that entails is it's not cheap, so we have to go back to the budget process now. We're gonna look at the capital projects and we're gonna move things around. So just like that, we can maybe meet, talk maybe after this or tomorrow, and you could show me, I can meet you in the environment, and we can go over that. Thank you.
I would just very quickly say that, there's a number of fixes out there. One of the things that has been occurring in many communities is essentially traffic calming measures. So, and I'm not just talking about speed bumps. I'm talking about things like rapid flashing beacons, which are becoming more and more popular. What they call
Slowing speed limits too.
well, you brought it up. In fact, literally, when you repave a road, you decrease the lane width for automobiles. So some of them are 12 or 13 feet. You go down to 11. In some certain instances, you can go down as low as 10, but it's tough getting a truck on a 10-foot. But you can certainly go down to 11. And what that does is that really does, it does decrease speeds. So tabletop crossings, where in fact you elevate the crossing. So it's like a modified speed bump. There's a lot of things. New Haven and Hamden just put in, I don't know, 20 of those. And they've been pretty successful from what I can tell. So anyway, there are other alternatives. Having said that, none of them are cheap. So it's something that needs to be discussed, obviously.
Thank you. Aaron Shermer, first of all, the panelists, thank you so much for taking the time and care being here. Just want to quickly address Switzerland as well, because I biked there 9 weeks, 2 years ago, 6 weeks this past summer. I was born and raised there. However, more importantly, I walk about 2,500 miles in Greenwich every year, and I bike more than 3,500 miles in Greenwich. It's kind of a bit of lifestyle decision as well. Some can, some cannot. That's understood. I just want to share the message. Anything 5 miles or less, when the weather is okay, I try to bicycle. I don't succeed, but I try. And my wife is equally competitive. So if possible, we'll leave the car at home. In Switzerland, if you live within a mile of a school, if you're being dropped off by a parent by vehicle, in many cities, you pay a fine. The other thing is there's just not as much parking available in the smack middle of downtown. They encourage you to leave the car a bit outside and use public transportation or walk into the city. These are all concepts that are not very American, and Greenwich is not really excluded from these kind of things as well. But we could do dozens of things in Greenwich. But what's missing a little bit is the real kind of never give up, and we're going to do something, even though it's difficult. We have state laws, we have town ordinances, we haven't done that. People don't like paying on their own and these type of things. So topic number one, affordable housing. All the recent projects, I intervened and said, listen, near Orchard Street, you know, the new development, maybe Brookridge Drive, maybe something on the parking lot. They talk about bicycle racks or bicycle improvements or make it safer for pedestrians. Nothing really gets done, right? So when developers say we do this and that and whatever, nobody really follows up. Number two, distracted drivers and so on. Police, thank you for helping. I think this calls also for we need to launch some sort of an educational campaign, because most drivers really don't know that they need to respect 3-foot distance from bikers, right? And Jim knows it from DPW. That's a tough ask, but some of these lanes, they always go against the bikers. I know the roads have a certain width and they bend at the worst place, and where there is a turn, there is a tree and all these type of things. But you know, it cannot always go against the bikers, like in the danger spots. We need to find it. I know time. But sorry, I'll take a little bit extra. My third, the third point is this one, Fred, for you, economic development, bring tourists in, extra income. You know, we should really have a Greenwich, one Greenwich app. If we don't have a mobile app and so on, we don't really communicate well enough with the world. And on that app, we should show what are the alternatives. The post road is not a great way to bicycle or maybe to take a hike. We have beautiful parks. There's alternatives, how we can avoid certain sections of the post road. So task force, can we say, what's the ideal way to go east-west, you know, by bike, and how do we connect to some of the beautiful parks and things so that if a tourist arrives, or even in New York or on Metro North, that they have help. So sorry for the extra time. Thank you.
So Bob, if I can just really quick put a little promo out there. If you didn't see either Greenwich Police or Greenwich Public Works' social media pages today, we just launched a Greenwich Go is what it's called. It's a educational and promotional campaign that we're doing in combination between the two groups for different things. And today our first topic was the Sharrows. So I know Bob mentioned what are Sharrows, and so if you want a little bit more information, feel free to pop on that. It's going to be a program that we've started to push out there to educate people a little bit more. I'm hearing some of these things. I'm taking a few notes, so we'll try to incorporate some of those as well on those topics as well.
So Bruce, I'd like to direct some of the commentary, observations, and questions to you. Frankly, in this town, we have an issue with sidewalks. We have an issue with safety. We have areas around all of our schools that are supposed to be walk to schools with no sidewalks. We have a tremendous issue as well with double polling and access on our sidewalks for our individuals with disabilities. Where I would look and work with you, I'm one of the state reps for the 150, so I cover the shoreline. So I have, for the most part, 95, a goodly portion of Route 1, which I share with Hector and with Rachel, and I also have the Metro North line. I would like, as we go forward, some active discussion and look about the state's rights of way, because those all fit the high density corridors, and I think there need to be more asks. And I'd like your help and support, because what's lacking on our level is the 10 or 20% town contribution for some of the projects. And we need to know what's available at the state level so that we get the town to put up the money to do these projects, because we are lacking projects, we are lacking infrastructure. There's been a lack of vision. So I'm happy to see you here today, and you can count on my support and the rest of the delegation.
Thank you. There are a lot of pots of money that can be used for all of those things. They often aren't used for all of those things, but STB block grants, lot SIP. There's a bunch of programs out there. By the way, that's the state lot SIP program, and a number of others that can be used in stopgap ways. Something that's come up recently with the Rec Trails program is, in fact, that's been used for shortfalls from federal grants. So, say the Federal Transportation Enhancement Act, which is called TA or TAP, it depends on who you talk to, is really just 80% money. So, if DOT doesn't agree to come up with any extra money for a certain project, the town needs to find it, right? So that's one of the alternatives is to look for some stopgap funding from various areas. So I can definitely work with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, hi there. I'm Allie Giorsi. I'm speaking tonight as a runner, downtown runner, not a biker. And I'm really just speaking for the record. I'm on the Sustainability Committee, but as I said, speaking on behalf as a resident of downtown, and want to validate this education for drivers. Really, really critical. I run North Maple to Houston to Parsonage. Technically, those aren't really like high traffic roads, right? I mean, they're kind of mellow in some respects. However, I fundamentally experience and believe that if drivers knew how to drive and share a road with a pedestrian, it would be drastically different. They don't understand width. They don't understand at all that you actually need to give someone who is vulnerably running against traffic, like as far to the left as they could, that you have to give that person bandwidth. And oh, by the way, if there's an oncoming car, not to try to squeeze between the runner or the biker and the car. And that's what people do. And I also don't think they understand how dangerous their vehicles are. These are very large vehicles. As I said, around downtown, that's around Brunswick Academy. These are like private school drop-offs in the morning. And these cars are big and they're dangerous. There's not like little Volkswagens just sort of like, calmly going down the road. These are big, aggressive vehicles. And I don't think they have any idea of the proximity of their car to, as I said, a runner or a biker. So if there could just be some kind of really strong campaign educating people to slow down. If there is an oncoming runner, let that runner pass, let the oncoming car pass, then go around them. And when people do that, it's a totally different experience. You feel safe, you feel seen, you feel like it's all good. As I said, that bandwidth between the runner and the biker in this case and the vehicle, and just to give them numbers or actual feet, if you will, would be very helpful. So thank you for that.
Very quickly, I haven't mentioned, try to remember the name Amy Watkins. She's the director of Watch For Me Connecticut. You may have seen the ads out there. It's funded by both the feds and Connecticut DOT. And she's been doing a great job. She has a number of spots, ads, and certainly the town could take advantage of some of that. So that's out there, and I can get you that information.
Good evening. Thank you all for your service. And my grandson loves your dog. This may be a stream of consciousness because I've been very involved in keeping Greenwich safe. When my son played for the Binny Bears, he rode his bike home. And I said, how did you get home? He said, I rode through the Binny Park Tunnel. I said, there's not even a light there. I called Garabedian, who had your job a while ago. And he said, Mrs. Nichols, send me a postcard. He put a light in. He put a light in that tunnel, which Al Manelli said, you're the one who did that? He said, you don't know how hard it is to replace that. So kids grew up in Old Greenwich. They walked to Old Greenwich School. They walked to Eastern. Do you know why I'm walking with this? Because I do not live in Old Greenwich anymore. I live on Mason Street. People get off the train. What are they on? They're on electric scooters. They're on electric bikes. They're on earbuds. They don't see me. This is how I walk down the street, and I give myself a really wide berth. When I cross Greenwich Avenue, that does not have police on it anymore, and we don't know what's replacing them, I cross with this. People follow me. They say, thank you. The drivers applaud me because they know when to stop, because right now they don't know when to stop. So I'm the one who handed that young man about the traffic enforcement agents. They are union in New York. I don't know why they can't be union here. They have 3 months training. I was a school crossing guard. I had training, I think, for a day. I was stopping cars on the post road. About the pedestrians and the runners, I'm so happy when I see them running facing traffic because they won't get run over. Somebody please put a sign at Todd's Point and tell the runners to face traffic because they're going to get run over by the people in the cars with their headphones on while they're driving. Do I have anything else to say? Yes, I want to really have a conversation with the police department about this. And how do I do that?
You're doing it now.
My father was a detective, lieutenant detective in Philadelphia, and he would be thrilled that you're going to talk to me. Thank you.
We'll get you in a second. Maybe just real quick, just take a quick time out on that. Maybe with John and the police, maybe take a glimpse at what you see, the trends, or if you had to project into the future, about scooters, e-bikes, that sort of thing. What do you see coming down the road here?
Yeah, I'll speak to that a little bit. Yeah, lithium batteries, that's the big thing now, whether it's your lawnmower, leaf blower, or whatever else. And kids and adults are all riding motorized vehicles. So they're e-bikes, they're e-scooters, they're not going away. It is the single fastest growing segment of wheeled transportation. There are great companies and there are not so great companies. Unfortunately, some of the fires in New York and things like that are some of the fly-by-night companies that are just a LLC and importing things with no regulations. But the reputable companies make good products. The only issue is, you have 3 different classes of vehicles, 20 and 30 mile an hour. Some are pedal assist and some are throttle. If you're riding 30 miles an hour on a bicycle, that's really fast, and there's no licenses required or anything else. So, I see it and I cringe a little bit. And I have teens too, so I know that don't drive. They don't want to drive their kids want independence, so they get them an e-bike, but the kid's not used to going 20 or 30 miles an hour. So it always scares me when, it excites me that they have one, but at the same time, like, you need to know how to drive basically if you're taking something like that. So I don't know what initiatives should be in place for something like that, but e-bikes and e-vehicles are not going away. They're going to continue to get bigger and bigger. So when we do look at, roads and complete streets and things like that, we have to take into account that people are going to take them to the train station, people are going to take them to school. So whether it's chargers, parking under an overhang and being able to lock things like that, e-bikes are definitely not going away. You probably know that as well.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like, and everybody probably knows that the stand-up e-scooters seem to be the biggest thing right now. So what we do a lot of times, we try to educate people. I saw a guy going up today, up Greenwich Avenue, just flying up the wrong way, with earbuds in, yelled to him, whistled, everything. I wound up catching him up toward Am Jerome, and he had no idea. He was just weaving in and out. He's on the sidewalk. So a couple of things, there's no skateboards on the sidewalks or in the road. Skateboards, not at all. You can't ride a bicycle or an e-scooter on the sidewalk. You ride e-scooter like you would a bicycle, farthest to the right, follow all the traffic laws. But definitely, and the parking, you're not allowed to park your bicycles or your e-scooters. We have bicycle racks, you can park them there. But I guess in a lot of other towns, the e-scooters are taking over the sidewalks with parking and stuff like that. So that's going to become an issue here because every day I see more and more scooters.
Bicycles are not allowed on the sidewalks anywhere in town?
No.
That's not true.
What's that?
That's not true. Anywhere in downtown.
Well, the ordinance I have here, there's no bicycles allowed on sidewalks.
No, not throughout town. That's not true. Absolutely not. It's only certain areas in town where bicycles are not allowed on sidewalks.
Well, you're supposed to get off and walk your bike.
Well, for sure, it's not a good idea is the question, but it's not a town ordinance. No, the town ordinance says downtown Greenwich, like where you would expect from, the center, East Putnam, West Putnam, both sides, Greenwich Avenue, the congested area, same thing in Old Greenwich, same thing at Coscob. But other than that, a bicycle, you're going to tell a 5-year-old child on a bicycle to get on the road, he's got to be on the sidewalk. I mean, the parents will kill you if the kid doesn't get killed. So no, I mean, we've had that issue. We brought that issue up a long time ago in the task force. We had the ordinances with us. We'd had Chief Evie with us, and we went through all of it to make sure that everybody was on the same page on this. If we need to change something, let's talk about it. That's absolutely, there's big problems, but it's not an ordinance. Definitely certain areas that you can just read it on the website. It's all there. I don't know what you have there, Nick, but I'd love to see that. But you'll see it where the exact areas are in town where bicycles are not allowed. Otherwise, you can use the sidewalk. I don't want to take too much time, but Representative Meskers talked about the federal money or whatever's available, state money to even for Route 1 projects. I mean, this is a big bone of contention for me that the Mianus River Bridge is the absolute worst place for a cyclist to be able to get across the Mianus River. It's the worst link in the East Coast Greenway going through Greenwich. When can we get something on the table I know we need to ask, and that's a really important point. If we don't have projects ready, shovel ready, or whatever it is, we're never going to be in the queue. So, but what starts that, and I'm not knocking DPW for this, believe me, I'm not. I know because I know what happens. You all know what happens. There's a project that DPW proposes and they get it from both sides. They get hammered. And so they're a little bit gun shy about bringing projects forward. Let me just finish that thought. So the public, you guys, and I'm so thrilled to have so many people here. There's a number, it's like 10 or 12 people online as well on Zoom. Hopefully can ask some questions if we have enough time. So I won't take any more time, but if the public doesn't come out and support these projects in a big way, the BET is going to say, no. We have other priorities. We're not putting any money there. So let's all work together and make this happen. Go ahead, Steve. Do you want the microphone?
And Jim, not to put you on the spot. I know we've all sat in meetings on the state and Route 1. And they're doing that right down at the high school, right? At the crosswalks there at, what is it, Hillside? My kids went, I can't remember but they're putting in the culvert. I don't know. Right, Brookridge, thank you. And I don't know that we've asked them to make accommodations for a bicycle lane on either side. Okay, but I am not aware of whether or not the state has agreed, and that may, Bruce, we may need to work on that. That project's slated to schedule the next 18 months, and we need to make sure that they include bicycle accommodations on that road, because that is the eye of the needle as well as the other place.
I don't know who's the person who should speak on this, but or who is the correspondent with the state. But this is a project that we've been it's high on the list, is to be able to put that multi-use path along the post road. And to my knowledge, Jim, and if you can confirm this, that the state did agree to be able to put a multi-use path on the north side of the post road in that area connecting to the high school. Am I right or wrong?
Apologies, Vin. The bicycle task force provided minutes and a written recommendation to DPW, which Jim kindly passed on to the state.
Correct. So
State and here.
we just need confirmation that that's still on the table.
So my understanding is, as part of the project for the bridge, they are going to do very minimal work. There's probably a lot more that should be done there, but it is, the answer I've gotten is it's not part of the scope of the bridge project. So that's what I've been told, so.
I don't want to make this part of the meeting. We need to know that.
Absolutely. And we will be cheap. And we'll see what we can do.
And I will call the commissioner. We'll get on that. Thank you.
Hi, Claire Kilgallen. I actually wasn't planning to talk, but as I drove here, I came up Byram Road and there were a whole bunch of kids, some on regular bikes, some on motorized bikes, who were doing their thing. And then we turned on to Western Junior, and one kid was riding his bike, clearly a middle schooler around age, and he was holding his handle and he was looking at his phone around the curve of Western Junior, right at the tennis courts. So I would say to you a few things. One, here are my random stream of consciousness thoughts. One, in your property tax bill where people are paying for the tax on their cars, perhaps put an insert on what they should be observing the rules of the road. Two, I think that getting the education is essential, but I hear, to me, it's not good enough to institute it at 4th grade because you're missing a whole generation of the kids. And the fact is, people are not letting necessarily their 4th grader do it, but when they get to middle school, there are no buses if you're a mile and a half within your school. There are no buses. So that's when literally, sorry for the pun, rubber meets the road. And that's when kids really start biking in a substantial way. And I think that's where things need to happen as a special focus. I'm not saying not to do it at the younger ages. And perhaps there should be a middle school survey. Would you ride to bike? Would you ride to school? Do you have a bike? Why don't you ride to school? Let's find out why they're not going. I can tell you for sure, to the point about Byram Road, there's only one safe crossing at Byram Road to get to Western. And literally any other choice, it's at Henry Street. The other thoughts are, in terms of reaching out to the PTA council, there's a health and wellness committee. Maybe that's a way to connect with all the schools in an efficient manner. And then my last question is something, because I'm on too many community Facebook groups. There was a question the other day about somebody had bicycles kids grew out of. And the question is, does GPD still accept, maybe it's through the Silver Shield, the bike donations to give to kids at various school events? I know that used to happen, and I'm not sure if it kicked back up. So I think that would be something I know that DPW does an awesome job, and their social media probably may have more traction than yours, but maybe it's a cross-pollination thing where you let people know, do you have old bikes you want to donate? And I think you would get a lot coming in. Thank you.
I just asked Bob for 30 seconds. I just want to remind everybody that starting after the 15th of November, traffic restricted Greenwich Point will start. It's a combination of effort between the Friends of Greenwich Point and the department to raise the money to make that happen every year. So I want to thank the Friends group and come out. It's a restricted traffic pattern for the backside of Greenwich Point. And Bob and I and Vin have talked about running some clinics, and we can do that. I have the land if you have the time, so we can start to talk about that. And as soon as we get through this month, we'll put that L lot back in for instruction only. Okay, good.
And Joe, the hours would be the same.
Excuse me?
The hours will be the same
Hours of what?
for the biking.
Yes. And for the Greenwich Point traffic,
yeah.
yeah, same hours, yeah. We'll be putting out some social media on that
Yeah.
shortly.
So people know.
I have a quick question it's probably for Jim. Have you gone through a round of DOT's community connectivity grants yet?
Yes.
Okay. Because they re-upped the money again for it. So
Thank you.
if you've gone
Thank you.
through enough of the program, you can reapply.
Yeah, we put in a recent application.
Awesome. Good.
Hi, my name is Mary Jura, and I've lived in Greenwich all my life. And I don't drive a car, and I can't ride a bike because I have visual problems all my life. And I'm a pedestrian. And pedestrian walking is not safe. And I've seen adults driving bikes on Mason Street because I walk everywhere to the hospital and everywhere. And I just think that there's not much talk here tonight about pedestrian safety. This talks about bicycles and things like that, but not much for pedestrians. And that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mary. We are focusing on sidewalks, intersections, crosswalks all over town. As I mentioned before, we were just looking at Glenville the other day. So that is very much a part of it, but this active transportation task force was kind of focusing more on what is the hardest, which is people biking and what we can do. But certainly with more people working from home than ever before, and with 63,000 people here and 4 times as many cars in the last 50 years, it's an issue. So we certainly appreciate where you're coming from. Any other questions or comments? Brandon? To be followed, and then Peter third.
Okay, so just so we have some order, this gentleman, then Jill Oberlander, and then Peter Berg. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Thanks for taking the time to put this together. My name is Brendan D. Simone. I'm a backcountry Greenwich resident of about 10 years. I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut. And tonight I represent the Round Hill Association as a member of the executive committee. We in backcountry Greenwich, which is North Greenwich, north of the Parkway, North Street, pretty much to the New York border on the west, the New York in the north. Backcountry covers a part of town that is very curvy roads, backcountry narrow roads, really bad sight lines, very unsafe roads, hard roads to bike and walk. We're concerned about safety for our residents. These roads were never built or intended to accommodate the type of cars and the amount of traffic we see today. A lot of our members are no longer able to ride their bikes, even check your mail sometimes. Cars come flying around the corners. What's happened is applications like Waze and Google Maps have really transformed our neighborhood. They've really ruined some of our parts of towns. Cars come whipping off the Merritt Parkway on some of these backcountry roads, and we call them like zombie drivers. They don't know where they're going. They've never been on these roads before. Many of them are from out of town, and they take the roads really harshly. To that end, we've hired a traffic engineering firm to help us kind of look at the problem, discover the issues, and start to pull data together. We've learned a bunch of really interesting things like ways to do traffic calming. Small things like when you have a backcountry road with 2 yellow lines, cars feel really safe when they have 2 yellow lines. They have their own territory. When you take those lines away, traffic drivers must slow down. They must be more safe because they don't have that sort of safety zone. And traffic speed limits are traffic data shows they drive slower when that happens. There's a whole bunch of other things we've learned about chicanes and small speed bumps and sharrows. So we're going to be working with P&Z. We're concerned because there's about 500 new units on the docket to be built in North Greenwich up on King Street. We're concerned that those 500 new units could put 1,000 new cars on the road going from northwest Greenwich down to downtown. So we are happy to work with you guys and the entire part of town, not just our neighborhood. We think this is an issue for the entire town of Greenwich. It's not just a biking issue, a pedestrian issue, a safety issue in general. So we look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Jill Oberlander. I hadn't planned to speak, so I had no prepared remarks. I just came out to support the work of the Active Transportation Task Force. Many of you know I've been a strong advocate for cycling. Unfortunately, this last year, I haven't felt safe enough to ride my bike in Greenwich. It's really a sadness for me because it's one of my great joys, but it's been over a year since I've been on my bike in Greenwich, actually. So I would encourage you to do what you can. Thank you for the efforts, Jim. I know you've worked really hard on this. I'd love to see you reintroduce the Complete Streets legislation. Love the idea of the Bruce Park Trail. As you know, I've been advocating for that for a long time. I'd like to suggest that when you consider any of these extended shoulders, that you don't put granite curbs on those roads, because if you're sharing a road and you're a cyclist or a walker actually, and you're on the shoulder and a car and you need to move over fast, that granite curb is going to prevent any cyclist from moving off onto have a softer, more gentler curb. You're going to rip right through the tire and you're going to have a much more serious accident. So I know that some of your proposals contemplate a significant amount of money on granite curbing, which I think is a big mistake, actually, not only to get the project passed, but also for the people using the roadways. And that's really it. So thank you to the longtime advocates for their continued efforts, for the education, for the police, for the doing what they're doing. And I really learned something thinking about the electric vehicles. Big issue, and the town hopefully will be planning for that now. So thanks.
Evening, Peter Berg from Coscob, and I'm chairman of the RTM's Land Use Committee. We adopted a new plan of conservation and development in 2019. And as part of that, we introduced the concept of key performance indices. I know Lauren Rabin spent a lot of time and came up with some very interesting measurements. I'm just thinking of all the additional things that we could measure. And I'm particularly interested in how many children, elementary school children, are walking to school. Coscob is one of the walking schools in town. We introduced in Coscob Safe Routes to Schools 20 years ago. We've got the speed humps, we've got the crosswalks, but my sense is that the kids still are not walking. The parents are driving them, 3 blocks to school. So, I would like to suggest that we create some additional key performance indices around children, how many children are walking to school versus getting driven. I love the idea of fining parents if they drive to school. I just wanted to add one additional thought. Because Vin, when your 50th reunion and people say, I can't believe the change. Well, it's not population. Our population has hardly grown in the last 50 years. But one thing that has really changed is that the workforce of Greenwich no longer lives in Greenwich. They all commute to Greenwich. Chief Heavey recently reported that 70%, when he joined the force, 70% of the policemen in Greenwich lived in Greenwich. And then he said today it's 7%, from 70 to 7. Now, it's not just police. I mean, we have a huge workforce in Greenwich, particularly if you include independent contractors like people who clean houses, people who mow lawns. All of those people, a high percentage, maybe 80% of them commute into town. So that's a lot of the traffic. It's not, I always hear this, so people have 3 or 4 cars, but I don't think that's what it is. I think a lot of it is commute in to work in Greenwich. And and I think a big solution long-term is much more affordable housing in the town so that people who work in the town can live in town if they want to.
Thank you, Peter.
Is there people online that want to ask some questions that we can see out there?
There's one person, but there might be audio problems. I'm going to allow them to talk. So Nogaki,
Hi.
you can mute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Katie Nogaki. I live at 219 Orchard Street, directly across from the proposed exit of buses for the new Central Middle School. There was a major accident on my property where a car almost hit me 10 feet away from me. I have 4 children school age that get to school, crossing both to Central Middle School and to the high school, running across the street to save, very, very dangerously. There was proposed stop signs to be put in for the Central Middle School, working with you guys to make it safe. And since then, there've been some questions about whether that should be taken out of the proposed budget. This is essential to the children that live not only at my house, but in the 3 houses across the street. The safe routes that you just suggested is really important. And please take these crosswalks. And Orchard Street is a speedway right now. There's cars going 70 miles an hour, drag racing up to 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Please help us keep our kids safe and put a crosswalk in, maybe a sidewalk. There's people walking and biking constantly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I do want to comment, having grown up on Orchard Street, and I could tell you, every neighborhood I go to in town has the same issue. Every mayor and first selectman and first selectwoman I speak with on a weekly basis, sometimes daily basis, this is one of the 5 issues that they're all concerned about. So it's not something unique to one neighborhood or this town. It's all over the place. And Peter's right. Growing up here, teachers, all the tradesmen lived here. Just about very few people lived outside of town. But we do have 4 times as many cars, and Peter was absolutely right. The population here went from 59,000 to 63,000 in 54 years, and about 1,500 of that came recently. So, but there's 4 times as many cars. There's only 14,000 registered cars back in '69. So it's a lot of issues at once. And again, this is a huge problem. Quiet cars are another problem. So, and also our roads are not as wide as when you go down south, some of those southern states, and you see I take these pictures and I send them to these guys all the time, these beautiful bike paths, and they have the room. So it's a lot more challenging in a town like Greenwich, any of these northeastern towns, but that's why we're doing what we're doing. We cannot just give up and say it's impossible. And by you all being here tonight is very, very helpful. We've heard some great ideas from all of you. So thank you.
Jenny's got another one.
Lauren Rabin, if you want to unmute yourself. You want to go ahead? Okay, maybe she's having a problem.
Hi, I'm Jan DeAngelo. I'm another person that was not planning to speak. I work part-time at the Cost Hub Library. And as you know, we are very close to the Cost Hub School. And so we have the pleasure of seeing the kids come over after school. And for many of them, that little walk from Cost Hub School to our library is their very first thing that they ever get to do without their parents. And some parents, like, they want them to call like the first few times that they come, but that independence is just so precious and just so important. And I think that being able to ride your bike, I mean, everyone talks about their childhood here, that they rode their bikes around. And I know things are different, but we've got to give that back for the kids, to give them that independence, to be able, like Gabby was saying at the very beginning of this, but to go from Riverside to the new Civic Center, to go to their little football practice or lacrosse practice by themselves when it's light out enough. I mean, we've got to figure out, and because there is that freedom, but also the physicality of active transportation is just really, really good for their mental health. And then I know he's giving me, I'm going to say quick. He belongs to the Bike League, but you went to the summit via Zoom, and this precious man started this thing in England, 20 is plenty, and it's 20 miles an hour is plenty. And that's what it is in a lot of jurisdictions there. And in fact, Wales, the whole country this month went to 20 miles per hour is the de facto speed limit everywhere, unless otherwise posted that you can go higher. And I know that people think 20 miles an hour to go from like the Audubon into Greenwich is a lot, but if you plan for it, it's doable. Thank you.
Oh, she's gonna speak on your right. Thank you. I'm gonna give it to you.
Hold on a second. Huh? You want to do, which one do you prefer?
You're gonna hold it up to there.
Oh, okay. Here, you go.
Thanks, Steph.
Oh, I'll go through it. You're gonna go do that. I can do that. I'm capable of doing that. I can make it my way. Here we go. Okay, girlie. Go ahead.
Hey, sorry about the little snag before. I just wanted to add, thank you, Peter Berg, for the mention on the KPIs, and that's a really good addition. We do have a KPI around school busing, and I think a lot of people may know that I've been trying to advocate for increasing, or actually decreasing, the mileage that kids need to live away from their schools in order to qualify for busing. I think that would help too. Currently, it hasn't changed in over 40 years. You have to live 2 miles or further to go to the high school, 1.5 miles to go to middle school. So to Claire's point about middle schoolers, and then 1 mile for elementary school. I think it's really something that we can think about and partner with the Board of Ed to maybe make that change, get more cars off the road, especially around our schools. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
Bob, can I say one quick thing? So I'm the vice chair of First Selectman Advisory Committee for People with Disabilities, and Steph Cowie. I've worked a tremendous amount of time with our lovely man, Jim Michael, on our roadways, sidewalks, you name it, we talk about it. And I want to say that he's been doing the very best possible. And I don't know if you all know that the intersection at Arch and Greenwich Avenue, that was declined. It was a grant, and our RTM brought it back and declined and said that they did not want us to proceed. So it was a $2 million grant. And again, we have to stay really vigilant because safety is paramount. Fred said,
how many more people do we have in town? How many more cars do we have in town? But how many accidents or potential deaths could there be without doing these actions? So I urge everybody, when things like this happen, and I know it happened in the summer, but there are a lot of us still trying to advocate for it. This was over last year. And anytime you hear anything like that, and I love that you're all together. I love this panel is all together. And I hope that we can all work in one tandem way and get our roadways safer for bikes, cyclists, runners, people in wheelchairs. And I can tell you how many very close calls I've had. So I appreciate all that you're doing, and I thank you very much. And Jim, you do rock on, so you do.
Hi, Lucy Von Brockle. I live in Byram, and I'm on the RTM. And Steph hit one point, which was that DPW has been trying really hard. One of the problems that I think that we have is other town bodies like the RTM not being willing to spend money, not being willing to put in place ordinances that would cause us to spend money. But when you listen to people in the room, if you talk to people in your neighborhoods, everybody cares about this issue. It requires some community pressure, but what we're not hearing tonight is any commitment to do anything. And we need to start making that commitment. I don't really know how to start doing that, but it comes from the BET, it comes from the RTM, it comes from the Board of Selectmen. It has to be, the town has to make a choice. Do we want to make it safer to use our feet and ride a bike to get around town and be healthy? Thank you.
Joanne Messina, and I will agree with Lucy, and we are committed to doing that. That's why we're doing this here tonight, and we'll continue to put things in the budget and fight for things in the budget like we have the past 4 years. So thank you. Hi, Joanne.
Hi,
How are you?
Joanne Messina. First want to speak as a resident of downtown and want to go back to where Vin started. I was one of those people, and I see Melissa and Melissa's husband. We were all 25 years ago talking about safe routes to school, talking about how we could slow down traffic, speaking about how we could narrow roads because we wanted to have shared roads with walkers and bikers. And 25 years later, we're basically talking about the same kinds of things. So to many former speakers, the commitment, I want to mention Jill, the granite curbing is an issue, and we've talked about that. And let me segue to my current job of the Greenwich Tree Conservancy. Trees and bikers and walkers can all share the roads, but we have to look at complete streets, and we have to look at it all together, which is why I hope we're all here tonight to talk about that, or to not even to talk about that, to take action. I agree, Jim has been doing some really good work on some of the areas, but then it sort of stops. We're trying to get trees on Route 1. We've talked about the fact that we can have bikes and trees on Route 1. We can always also, with tree canopies, narrow the feeling of the road, which slows the traffic down, hopefully, and assists with some of the other issues that we're talking about. So again, I really, really want to support and say that both of you, Bob and Vin, have been working on this for a while, and I'm glad we're here, but we really have to take action now. Thanks.
Let's take new speakers first, and then if anybody has something else after who's spoken before. Come on, Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Moriarty. I'm on the Board of Estimate and Taxation. And I just want to make a recommendation because it's clear that in this room, you're speaking to a lot of supporters, people who know about the issue. But the issue and the challenge is to get to the rest of the community to put it into context. And so my recommendation, especially as you come to my board and ask for funding, is to put the concepts in the framework of a program. This is our ultimate goal, and here are the steps we want to take to get there. And fund project A, fund project B, fund project C, they'll build on each other towards the goal. What happens at my board is when there are individual projects without a context, it's too easy to say, you know, this is a new initiative, we don't know where it fits, we can't move forward with it. And it doesn't help because we've been talking about this for years. I can't remember, to be honest, how many initiatives have come to my board, didn't pass, some did, some didn't. But it's a context, it's the program, it's the goal. And I think that would really help communicate that message and convince people.
Much appreciate that, but I'm going to have to follow that and ask you a question. Why is it that, and if I'm not mistaken, the BET requires that all departments have an operations plan, correct, every year? And then there are something like KPIs in there as well, those departments that do things like DPW, Parks and Rec, indicate what they did that last year, and it cost this much money or whatever it was. Why is it the word bicycle isn't even included in any place in any operations plan? Even the word trail, you're not going to find it. We don't have this in our MO in town. So I would ask the BET to put some pressure on the town to say, what is it people want, and what are those measures that we should be, I've seen other towns, somebody mentioned he's from West Hartford. I believe if you look at their financial reports or whatever it is, at the end of the year, they say we did so many miles of bike lanes, we did so many sidewalks. I believe DPW has sidewalks in theirs, which give them credit for that. But I'm just saying that, we looked at that, we looked at it carefully to see where we are as a town, and we're not there. So I think it's incumbent on the public to say, this is what we want. And like, to your point, we have to get to the broader public about that. I'm gonna close it after the rest of the questions with one other question for the community, but not right now. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, everybody. Danny Fourniers. I live in Cos Cob. I'm going to speak for those who ride strictly for activity, exercise, etc. We have some of the most beautiful riding anywhere in the country, without question. It is absolutely beautiful. The backcountry, every area is just gorgeous. Every day I enjoy when I get out on my bike. I would not consider biking across any of the main streets. I live in Cos Cob. If I'm going to meet friends in Old Greenwich, I hate to admit it, I drive there. I've come too close to getting hit. Just the Dunkin' Donuts right by across from Cos Cob School. People just don't look. So I will not bike without a bike lane. It's just not worth my safety. One other thing, not enough people have lights on their bikes. That would be a natural one. Just, if people see you, they're going to have a better chance of actually noticing you're there. But thank you. I love this, Bob and Vin. Thank you for all of you do, and Baxi, of course. Officers, thank you. We really appreciate it.
We're going to try to end right at 8 o'clock, so let's keep going.
Less than 2 minutes. That's how much time I have. Melissa Evans. Joanne outed me, former traffic operations coordinator for the town of Greenwich for many years. I worked for Jim for a long time. Currently the safety circuit rider for the state of Connecticut at the University of Connecticut. I won't get into what that is, but basically I do what I did for Greenwich for the whole state, for all the municipalities in Connecticut who need help with roadway safety. I'm not here as a safety circuit rider. I'm here as Melissa, who is born and raised in this town, raised my kid here, still live here. What I would like to say is all of the great conversations that we're having, we need a holistic approach, right? We're talking about bikes, we're talking about pedestrians, we're talking about trails, we're talking about speeding. And I want to talk about speeding right now specifically because all of the things that make us feel unsafe when we're doing these come back to that, right? If you're on the road and a car goes by you at 20, it's not so bad. You're on the road and they go by at 40, it's a whole different ballgame. And especially if you get hit by that car at 40, your chances of dying are far greater than if they hit you at 20. We don't want anybody to get hit, But if they do, when they're speeding, you're more likely to actually die. And we have a pedestrian fatality problem in this state. If you don't already know that, we do. We've already had 37 people killed in Connecticut as of last week. Pedestrians, not to mention all the other people who've died on our roads. So I would say a holistic approach, and we talk about, what does that mean and what does that look like? And I know you mentioned it, but I do think it means a policy. We used to have a traffic calming program. It's not funded anymore. It hasn't been for several years. And I'm not picking on you, Jim, but to continue to say we aren't funding that, we don't have the money for that, I think is the wrong answer. Because until a commitment is made that we do this from the top down and we spend money on it, it's just going to be this. It's going to be conversations and piecemealing and you fitting it in where you can, Jim, and you fitting it in where you can, Joe. And that's not the holistic approach that a lot of other municipalities have taken. They have complete streets policies. They have Vision Zero policies. The state has adopted these things. I think we need to get on board.
One more thing. Today I came to support the work that Bob and Vin are doing, but I see that many other issues came up. And I live on Valley Road, and I want to be on record. Valley Road became a speeding track. It's a connection between Stamford and Route 15. And right now, between Palmer Hill and Mariano View Terrace, we need a sign, a light with speeding signs for people coming down. So I want to be on record. I have the request from my neighbors. I will follow up with our neighbor from Orchard that I spoke today. Valley Road, I repeat, between Palmer Hill to the next stop sign on Mariano View Terrace or Dundee became a racetrack. So we need on the top a lighting sign with people to respect maximum speeding. Okay? There is only one in Palmer Hill, and you became down Valley to Mariano View Terrace, and it's on a speeding track.
We get lots of requests all over, and sometimes, we get there's state ordinances that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to hit on a couple points that have been expressed here tonight. First off, I really appreciate everybody for coming out because you're all my supporters and it helps me try to get things done. We do try to get a lot done in this town. There are certain restrictions that we do have to work within. There are certain state and federal regulations on placing stop signs, on setting speed limits, different things like that we are mandated by the state to follow, and those are oftentimes, we can't put up a green colored stop sign. It has to be a red stop sign. Why is that? So that everybody recognizes that it's a stop sign. So there's certain things like that we have to follow. So some of the things are great. Another thing that we really run into issues with in this town is there's a lot of people that have lived here for a long time. And they like the way that it looks and feels. And when you try to put things, everybody likes these things to a sidewalk until it's going in front of their property. And that's one of the struggles a lot of times we have is we propose a sidewalk and they're like, well, we really like walking on sidewalks, just don't put it in front of my house. And so that becomes a challenge for us. It's always difficult to do these projects because we like to, involve the public in projects. And part of that is getting the funding. So that becomes a challenge. So if you can try to emphasize with people, and we try to emphasize this with people too, is we hear more often than not, even from people that were adamantly against having a sidewalk in front of their house, once it's built and then it's in front of their house, they come back to us and say, wow, I really do like this sidewalk here. And it is a benefit. I can't believe how much I actually use it now. So these are things that we do hear from people. And so it's just changing that mindset of people to be accepting of some of the changes that we look to make. We are making these with the intent of safety, the intent of improving mobility throughout town in many different ways. So just think of that when you're doing these things. Granite curb is definitely one thing. I'm just going to hit on this really quick. I know it comes up all the time. Granite curb, we have a standard of where we utilize it. The main point of the granite curbs that it's a long-term maintenance ability. We try to utilize it where we have sidewalks because it provides a secondary backing to be able to build the curbs too. But it is something that we always look at certain areas and try and do that. It's something that we've used as a standard. It's pretty much it's a standard in many communities in this area, and so it's something that we utilize. I'm happy to talk granite curbs for hours on end, but I know we need to get out of here by 8. So,
Yeah, I mean, could you do, I know why we do the granite curbs and it makes sense and all the things. I am one of those people that got 2 flat tires in the last few years from them, but I get why we do them. But is there a way to bevel it a little bit to, somebody was saying about the bikes, something, would make it a little bit safer, or is that cost prohibitive?
They do have a little bevel on them already. I'm not gonna totally grab Melissa's point, but slow down. And that's sometimes, speed is definitely one of the biggest problems we have in this town. And, the guys down at the other end totally would agree with me. And to hit on Hector's point, we had one of those speed display signs there about a year and a half ago for 4 to 6 months on Valley Road and collected data and so forth. And it's a sign that we take and we move around town at different places. I think it's on Indian Field Road right now. But I think there's one there, and I think there's another one somewhere out there. But we move them around about every 4 to 6 months, something like that, and are doing that. And then we also work with the police department on the smaller ones that they are out there for a week or two. Those are, and they collect some data and so forth. So. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We have about 5 minutes left, and Nancy Fanton, I don't want you to be disappointed if you don't speak. Would you like to say anything? It's up to you. You can come to the podium. If you want a hand to come up. It's up to you.
I don't have anything prepared.
It's okay. And I want you to speak to your
just
Nancy,
stand right here and just
Nancy. I'd like you to speak to your issue about the post road and the difficulties of crossing the post road, if you will.
Well, that's an issue on West Putnam, but also on East Putnam. You know what? Good luck, because I really don't know if it's going to go anywhere, because I kind of feel like you all have been talking about this for years, and it seems like nothing really gets done. And another thing is just the attitude of people in town. The speed is not respected. Red lights are not respected. Stop signs are not respected. Crosswalks are not respected. You can put in more stop signs and slow down and crosswalks. And you know what? I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, because it doesn't change people and how they behave. I mean, I had a near miss on Friday that I'm so shaken up about that I'm seriously considered leaving town, because I'm going to end up like Melissa mentioned these statistics. I'm going to end up like that nun who got killed on West Putnam, because where she got killed, I had to cross that every day. And that's where I almost got run over on Friday. And another time, and another time, and another time on West Putnam, because there's between Byram Road and Pembroke Road, for those of us who have to take the bus and cross there, there's no crosswalk. And I was really hoping that with the project with the bridges that they could incorporate a crosswalk there, not only to benefit those who have to cross who take the bus, but anybody going to Carvel, like children going from the Pembroke neighborhood or the Byram neighborhood, going to Carvel. It's not safe to cross anywhere down there because there are no crosswalks or lights or anything. But that's a state issue. But on the other side of town, East Putnam, where I live and have to grab the bus there, where there are crosswalks and there are stop signs and red lights, but it's just, it's not, I've almost gotten killed many times on East Putnam because when I'm crossing that McDonald's intersection or over by Sheep Hill or any intersection, when there's red lights all around the crosswalk, signal for me to cross, and I can't see. I use a cane, I use a stick. Oh, I'm legally blind. I have a white stick. I put it out there when I hear the
So
sound.
it's a behavioral problem then.
Yeah,
So Nancy, I'd like to address that. Thank you. I just wanted to give you a minute to vent about that. I appreciate that.
But growing up, I was born and raised here. I had a paper out. I got my first bike in 6th grade, and I rode my bike from Chickahominy to Todd's Point. I rode it from Chickahominy up Weaver Street, up Pembroke Road to my grandmother's house. It was safe back then.
Yeah, I know.
Past 15 years, I can't drive a car anymore. I can't ride a bike. And if I could ride a bike, honestly, I would never ride a bike like I did when I was a kid, across town or up Pembroke Road or Weaver Street or just anywhere in town. To be honest with you, if I had that capability to ride a bike again, I really wouldn't. It's not safe to walk in this town, ride a bike in this town.
Okay, we got it. We got it. Thanks, thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that.
I don't know. Good luck.
We'll do what we can. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so we're just about out of time. Bob, you may want to have the last word, but I want to leave you with a thought. What Nancy touched on, it's behavior. People talk about, you spoke the same thing. I really appreciate that it's two things I wanted to say that Peter Berg got up because he's involved in land use. We invited Margarita Alban to be a panelist. She's on Zoom. Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear from her too much, but I hope she listened to all of this because there really isn't enough space for everybody unless we want to make a change. Think about North Street. Think about all of those gigantic spaces of lawn between their houses and the street. I mean, it's just the way it was built. But could we offer to, tax incentives or something to be able to create some multi-use paths along North Street, just as an example? We can do these things, but we need the public to come out and say we want them. And then we need the other thing, the behavior thing for drivers. I look at it this way: don't take my truck away because I have to work. I drive a vehicle every day with stuff in it. I have to have that. Don't take it away. But my mindset now is different. After seeing and being involved in this stuff for so long, I feel I'm privileged to be able to drive an automobile on the roads. Privileged. The pedestrian comes first. It's people first. We're all used to driving. We're all going to drive. My God, you can buy any car you want in the town of Greenwich, but don't feel that you can just take over the road. It's just a mindset thing. It's a cultural thing. We have to change this. Tell our town officials that we want to change it, and let's get some money in the budget to put the holistic approach together. Okay.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Appreciate your heart and spirit, all the great ideas. Panelists, Bruce, thanks for coming a long way. Get involved. Vin's email address is on the bottom of the sheet, as is mine. We're always looking for some good work. Active Transportation Task Force. Think about joining us. Sustainability Committee. There's a bunch of groups in Greenwich that are doing great things. So if you want to get involved and push it a little bit harder, a lot of good smarts here. Think about joining an expanded team on this, okay? Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you.
Absolutely.